Good morning to Madam Saya and my fellow friends. Today we will present about the group assignment about the export-import management, which is the country of Austrian. So our group members is Chong Hui Ni, Komala, Noh Faisma, Nurul Naja, Sim Jofen, Owanchi, and myself, Di Kai. So we can see that from the figure, actually the Austrian is on the southern part of the Central Europe and is actually a landlocked country. The meaning of landlocked country is that they don't have island and then they are surrounded by the country. And then the capital of Austrian is Vietnam, and then they joined Europe Union on the 1st of January of 1995. We can see that from this slide, it's actually explained about the economics on the Austria. And then we can see that the GDP, which is the gross domestic product, is actually have grown 1.6% from the last year. So it's recorded 446,145 million in 2019. National debt of Austrian in 2019 was recorded about 336,000 million. The accumulated inflation in 2023 is remaining 0%. On the March of 2020, the unemployment rate in Austria recorded 4.5%. According to the Index of Economic Freedom Heritage Foundation in 2019, Austrian scored 72 out of 100 for economic freedom, which is 31st rank in the world ranking. Its business environment ranking scored 7.62, which is 18th highest in the world. Next, we can see that this is the export and import result on the Austrian on the 2018. We can see that the trade balance during the 2018 is about 3,000 million, and then they actually exported 4,265 products during 2018, and then they import 4,448 products in 2018. The main trade partner is Germany. We can see that actually Austrian has exported to Germany about 30% of the total export. And then they also import from Germany about 35.47%. Okay, we can see that actually Austrian exported, the main product is the motor car and other motor vehicle. And then secondly is the medicament. It actually consists of unmixture or mixtures product. And then Austrian also import motor car and other motor vehicle, and also the part of the accessory for the tractor and the motor vehicle.
So for the export strategy and practice in Austria, for the first is OGO International Program, Austrian Federal Ministry for Digital and Economic Affairs, and Austrian Federal Economic Chamber launched Go International Program to give support to Australian companies in growing their business. Go International Program also to increase foreign trade volume and number of exporting corporations, supporting exporters to enter overseas market and introduce corporations to emerge export market. This program will teach Austrian companies how to step in the global market, solution on preparing documents, the strategy of price and others. For the second one, funding agencies such as Carrington Economic Promotion Fund (KWF) and Vienna Business Agency will help Austrian companies to expand their company as their principal goals are to improve and innovate the small and medium-sized enterprise, internal and external corporate, development and promotion of high-tech project and cluster. However, the new policy package, Australian government agreed a new policy package that can help to strengthen growth and employment, support business and ensuring sustainability. In this policy package, the components include labor cost reduction, support to firm education and digitalization, subsidize SME in investment expenditure. Government also provides tax and agree subsidize SME investment expenditure, increase research premium. Besides that, Australia's government reduce tax levy on digital infrastructure to implement digitalization. For the business intelligence platform, Austria should develop a business intelligence platform to companies that involve in global infrastructure project in order to have a better and accurate information toward project in overseas. Government also can provide support for Austrian companies to participate in digital sales channel, especially for SME or startup companies. For the foreign trade policy, government delivered foreign trade policy is to increase the export from Austria to other countries and build on the strength of Austrian company. This policy will make Austrian company easier to make optimal use of advantage like tariff preference that the agreement offers. Last but not least, concern and develop Austrian investment monitoring mechanism. Ministries concern and develop Austrian investment monitoring mechanism to protect public security and order effectively when Europe Union country companies are acquiring Austrian companies. Government also highlight the importance of expansion of Austria's presence in growth market through an appropriate orientation of Austria network abroad and the strategy consolidation of support program for Austrian companies.
Now I'll proceed to the export procedure in Austria. So in Austria, there are 3 stages of process for exporting. One-time register procedure is to obtain an export license and followed by documentation needed for exportation and export custom clearance formalities. So next, so in order to export commercial goods in Austria, the company should have a registered trade. For the trade activity, the company requires to have a trade license. This can be obtained after registration with the competent trade authority. Besides, the one-time registration procedure is to allow the company to obtain an export license. For any imports-exports in European countries, the economic operator registration and identification number is needed. European Union legislation requires all member states to adopt the EORI program, where all the importers and exporters need to use an EORI reference number in all electronic communication with customs and other government agencies involved in international trade. The export documents required by Austria also depends on the nature of the goods, such as general items, personal items, dangerous goods, and specific goods. The Austrian government listed the specific goods such as arms and ammunition, health products, food products, and chemical products, and so on. Meanwhile, for shipment between member nations of the European Union, no export documentation is required to clear customs when the goods shipments are in free circulation. Next, so these are the documents that are needed to export from Austria. So the first is the custom declaration and followed by custom entry documents where should be prepared by the exporter. Next is the export license is required to obtain from the government agency of Austria. The purchase order or letter of credit between exporter and buyer is needed and followed by the weight certificate which is issued by the exporter with the stability of flight, stability of vessel, international safety rules, and so on. And the certificate of origin is issued by the competent authority of origin country of goods, while the insurance certificate is issued by the government authorized insurance service providers. And the certificates of inspection, certificates of pre-sale, and certificate of analysis also required to export from Austria. So that's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Next, my part is about the custom clearance import and export cargo in Austria. As we all know, usually the third parties are subjected to the EU common policy measures, which is the European Union. The international trade agreement between the EU and a third country is directly applicable to the Austria, and the formulation and implementation happens because the common trade policies are carried out in the community itself. Next is the Austrian government. The Austrian government is mainly responsible for the issuance of import and export licenses, especially for the trade between the Austria and the third countries outside of the European Union, which is EU. All measures and principles of EU is commonly trade policy, which comes under four policies, which is community custom codes, common custom tariff, various non-tariff measures, bilateral agreement system with the non-European Union member states. which is also can be explained as for trade between Austria and third countries outside of the EU, all measures the principle of peace, and this is because it applies it includes the subsidies, anti-dumping, safeguards, quantity restrictions, and also import and export bans. EU law also allows member states to use bans, restrictions, and regulatory measures in import and export to transit and to protect their social, ethics, and safety, human health, and life accordingly. Next, we'll talk about the community custom tariff system. It is all about the tax. The tax rate table includes the agreed tax rate, and it is applicable to all the members of the World Trade Organization, which can be called as WTO, and also the countries that have signed the most favored nation agreement with the community. Moving to the next slide. The next slide is about the inspection and quarantine of import and export commodities. Like other countries, Austria implements an inspection and quarantine system for import and export commodities. This is why, because as the member of the European Union, Austria implements the relevant laws and regulations of the European Union as its own law and regulation in order to prevent the harmful animals, plants, and certain infections, viral bacteria from entering their country, which is Austria. Austria strictly implements the relevant EU, which is European Union laws and regulation under the EU framework, including the relevant regulation on plant and animals entry into the EU and so on. This is because they are very particular about the things that are coming into their country, and they just want to make sure that they can prevent all these harmful and infectional things from entering their country as well. The next slide is all about the clearance of import cargo in Austria. As we can see, I've stated there, the Federal Ministry of Finance is responsible for trade, taxation, and custom duties and related procedures. The Customs Department of Austria is always managed by the Federal Ministry of Finance. So traditionally, their main focus is on custom administration, which has to be the management of taxes and tariffs. They will be responsible for taking care of all the administration and management taxes as well. The operation are required to fill out the entry summary declaration, and there are a lot of procedures in order to do this clearance of import cargo in Austria. As we can see, the operator are required to fill out an entry summary declaration, which is ENS, to the customs of the country of entry. Secondly, they have to the products that they import have to be subjected to the value added tax VAT to calculate it based on the custom value of import goods. Austria also required to import license for most goods, especially agriculture products. They are very particular on importing, so the license and everything must be very correct, and it must be very particular on what they're going to do in. The next is the custom declaration must be completed in order to circulate goods and originating outside of the EU. Just as I said, the declaration has to be made correctly, and also the declaration can be made on a form of provided by the custom authorities. However, the customs authorities may likewise permit the utilization of any commercial or official documentation that contain the particular information. So for clearance of import cargo in Austria, there is a lot of procedures that need to be considered before importing or doing any import-export cargo in Austria. That's all from my side. Thank you. I'll pass to the next presenter.
Now I'm going to present about the import strategy and practice in Austria and the physical distribution in Austria. The packaging, regulation, tariff, and samples, import license, and custom documentation are included in the import strategy and practice in Australia. The EU packing regulation are applied in Australia. The guarantee of food, wine, textile, chemical, and other products must be meet the requirement of the labeling regulation and packaging regulations. Machine building materials, communication equipment, medical equipment, sport equipment, toys, and explosive materials all require the CE marks to prove compliance with the basic safety standards set by EU. Products with the CE mark can be freely traded and sold in all countries in the EU. Okay. There are no tariff within the European internal market. The EU average tariff is about 4%. Australian tariffs are based on the ARIC and European Union's comprehensive tariff. Qualified commodities used as sample can be import duty-free. Goods temporarily imported into Australia can be used the temporarily import certificate, CARNET, ATA. Next slide. There are some special circumstances and restrictions such as import quotas, anti-dumping duties, and United Nations embargo regulations. There are also special regulations governing certain products such as textiles, steel, agriculture products, war materials, and military civilian products. Agriculture product must have an import license. And for the custom declaration must be submitted. Import goods outside the EU into Australia, other documents such as invoice, certificates of country of origin, and special regulation must also be submitted. Next, the physical distribution include ideal condition of Australia, distribution channel, and transportation. Next. First, Australia is in the center of the heart of Europe and have a high level of logistic capabilities. Next, it has service provider and employees with technical knowledge in Eastern Europe. It has an excellent combination of multiple modes of transportation for intermodal terminal, ensure an ideal combination of road, rail, and water transport. There are many ways to import goods into Australia, such as traditional import trade, wholesaler, direct import retailers, interbank purchasing associations, direct import industrial enterprise, owned branches, and also trade agents. Truck transportation occupies an important position in re-export and domestic transportation. However, trucks are prohibited on the road at night and on weekends unless the goods are perishable. Austria has a railway network of approximately 5,600 kilometers. Marine transportation is concentrated on the important waterway of the Danube. Goods are also provided transport by air. However, in Australia, transportation by air is the least used by people compared to transportation by road, rail, and ship. The airport can be provide any service for handling air transportation. That's all for me. I'll pass to the next presenter.
So for the recommendation, Austria can expand their exporters beyond their traditional market. So they can to allow Australian exporters to focus on market outside of the Western Europe and also to achieve above average success rate. Austria also can achieve synergy by bundling Austrian suppliers and targeting a specific range of export promotion and also market development tools to promising market. And also Austria should invest in specific export promotion fund which can make Austrian export the most possible success. And also the last recommendation, Austria should also conduct a survey to determine the main factors that promote and inhibit trade with emerging market and list market that are most efficient and not considerable as export yet. That's all for me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, in conclusion, the purpose of this report is to study the importance of imports and exports to Australia. Australian economy is heavily dependent on foreign trade. Without import and exports, Australia's economic sources can be considered to loss. Australia's economic policy provides a wide range of export promotion tools to support and promote the difficult development of new export markets. In order to achieve a sustainable market position, measures should be taken in other policy areas. These measures can increase the international competitiveness of domestic enterprises and establish export promotion tools. That's all from us. Thank you.